management on 5th of Feb from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. and it will be taken by CFA Dhruv Kumar. He's a youth coach and he's associated with the Art of Living, and it is on time management. So I have already circulated the link. Those who are willing to learn the techniques of time management, so do attend the session. There are 2 steps. One is Google form, and second is once you will register this details here, thereafter it will navigate you to Anamika, please I'll unmute. Secondly, it will take you to Zoom link. Again, you will have to register here, and in case if you have any query, in case if you have any problem, you can write it down and you will get the joining link. All right, so today I have exceeded my time limit. Though these discussions are also important, sometimes out of blue, these discussions are important. All right, chalo, ठीक. Let's come back to jermy bentham. देखो, last 3 points are important. ठीक. Last 3 points in the sense, इसको समझो and thereafter notes में से इसको read करना. Jurisprudence may, from today onwards, you will get 2 readings, 2 kinds of readings. One is preliminary readings and second is additional readings. Additional readings will be taken from the Lloyd's introduction वाली जितनी भी है ना, वो सारी additional readings होंगी. But जो at least जो marked है वो पढ़ो, उतना पढ़ना जरूर. ठीक है. और I'll create a folder for e-books today. And I'll upload the original books of the jurists for your reference. Okay. So you can refer preliminary for IP preparation, exams preparation, and additional for your enhancing your knowledge. Coming back to jermy bentham, Bentham's principle of utility. Bentham's principle of utility. He simply says that sovereign has placed mankind it has subjected mankind under 2 sovereign nature has placed mankind under 2 sovereign masters, under the rule of 2 sovereign masters. One is pain and the other is pleasure. Now when we talk about pain and pleasure, he has enlisted many, but naming the few, he has named pleasure of senses, he has placed pleasure of expectation, he has placed pleasure of reputation, to own the goods, or reputation. Pain is animosity. On the contrary, animosity, if bodily injury is inflicted, then that will result into pain, isn't it? Thereafter, loss of reputation it will result into pain. And something which creates something which diminishes your happiness, he says, it will fall, or creates evil, it will fall under this category. You can go through the classification of pain and pleasure, kinds of pleasure and pain given by Bentham. Thereafter, he says that what is meant by utility? Utility means relevance. Yes, relevance. What benefit you can derive out of it? What is the relevance? What is the relevance? What is the benefit? What is the advantage? So he says that a yardstick for law, a yardstick for a rule. Rule can be either it has been made by either it is an action, okay, action either of government or of individual. Government or individual, ठीक, action. either of government or of individual. किसी भी it has to ensure that that it results into, it augments, it has tendency to augment or increase, promote the happiness of greatest number of people. Happiness of greatest number of people means it helps in securing pleasures to them. On the contrary, it should diminish, it should oppose, it should diminish the it should diminish the pain, it should diminish the pain means it should diminish the pain, meaning thereby increasing, augmenting, increasing of pleasure, happiness, uh, increase in happiness and decrease in evil, increase in pleasure and decrease in pain, is the yardstick of of declaring an action, whether it be of government or an individual, to be valid. So this is the principle of utility. Principle of utility means that कितनी उसकी tendency है to ensure that people at large are happy, and कितनी उसकी tendency है ये ensure करने की that evil in the society, evil or the pain is diminishing. एडवांटेज, रेलेवेंस, कितनी उसकी एडवांटेज है, कितनी उसकी रेलेवेंस है, कितनी उसकी टेंडेंसी है. Thereafter, moving ahead, he says that when we talk about law, we'll come back to principle of utility again. He says that function of law is to ensure that we get security, equality. ठीक है, abundance, thereafter substance, or when you say that security, equality, abundance, substance means that you live your life. Again, abundance means increase, and equality we all know, but he had placed security at the highest, first point, first order, first objective of a first aim or objective of law is to ensure that there is security. Now, what is meant by security here? What is meant by security here? Not in Bentham's term. I'm not quoting him on this point, but this is my understanding. Why the first objective of law should be to provide securities? It can be physical security, it can be your social security. Why the welfare legislations? Why welfare legislations have been made? Why section 6 of Hindu Succession Act was amended way back in 2005. Don't you think that that amendment has brought a kind of security for the rights of female co-partners? Thereafter, all the welfare legislation, maternity benefit act. What is it all about? Welfare minimum minimum wages act, payment of wages act, now the reforms in labor law code. What is it all about? It is providing you social security, education. Why education has been made compulsory, free education from 6 to 14, and thereafter, why education? Unfortunately, higher education is not being paid heed in our country. Nevertheless, that is a different subject matter right now. Why security? Why education has been made a fundamental right? Because it is considered as a tool to ensure that the people, they live a secured life, isn't it?
More Article 21, live with dignity.
Yes. And the widest amplitude has been given from right to free air to right to sleep, Ramlila Maidan 2011. Right to live with dignity, to right to die with dignity. Living will directive. What is it all about? It is giving us a sense of security. Right to choose your life partner. Thereafter, there is no obligation on the parents to allow the children to live with them. Self-acquired properties. Thereafter, security to senior citizens. 125 CRPC. Security to senior citizens is a different matter altogether. And 125 CRPC, what is it all about? It is securing your interests. The aim of the law is to ensure that your interests are secured. Equality is there, abundance is there, you are subsisting in the society. That is, these are the followed by security. These are the aims of the law in the terms of Bentham. Now, for this, he says he correlates it with principle of utility. कि अगर बोलते ना दुनिया खुश, then that's that. I'll just give me a minute. I'll show you the document simultaneously. We'll come back to principle of utility again. Further, he says that there is idea of complete law. Idea of complete law. With idea of complete law, he said that integrity, spellings, integrality is sine qua non of unity in legal system. Sine qua non means prerequisite condition. It is an essential condition of a legal system, of a unity of a legal system. Now, what is meant by integrality is that laws should be clear in their signification, sign, command, and expression. Design. Signification, sign, design, and expression. It should be clear. Why? Because he propagated. See, just a second. He was in favor of codification of laws. He was in favor of codification of laws. He says that laws should not be, if laws will not be codified, they will be scattered. Then in that case, they will not be obligatory. So integrality, it means, by integrality he meant that law should be, signification of law should be very clear. Its design, its design, how you present it before the public should be very clear. It should be clear in expression. It should be clear in design. It should be clear in connection also. Clarity, बोलते ना, clarity of thoughts ऐसे हम बोलते हैं, and clarity of this. It should be let down clearly. And if it will be scattered, then it is not obligatory. So this is the benefit of codification. Okay, another example. Hindu code. It comprises of 4 acts. Hindu Marriage Act, Hindu Succession Act, Hindu Adoption Maintenance Act, Hindu Guardianship Act. What is the relevance of codification of law? Some rules and regulations which already existed as a part of custom or as a part of law, they have been codified, they have been brought under one head. Another example. I don't have Arbitration and Conciliation Act as of now. Otherwise, just refer to, in case if anybody has Arbitration and Conciliation Act, refer to the first word of the preamble, to consolidate 3 acts. Consolidate 3 acts. before 1996 Act was passed, we had with us Arbitration Act 1940, then 1937 Arbitration Protocol Act, which was based on this Geneva Convention, and followed by Foreign Awards Recognition and Enforcement 1957, which was based on the New York Convention. 1961, which was based on New York Convention. Why? Why? Because it was now Arbitration and Conciliation Act, when it was enacted, it was all these three laws were consolidated for the sake of your convenience. When UNCITRAL model, based on UNCITRAL model 1985, we divided into, instead of offering scattered law, we brought it under one head. Part 1 deals with domestic, part 2 deals with international, 3 conciliation, 4 supplementary provisions. They are no longer scattered. They are clear. The design should be clear. This is, he says, that one of the prerequisite of it represents idea of complete law. Moving ahead, and you can enlist many of them. I'll just show you the handout. Just give me a second, and thereafter we'll wind up Jermy Bentham, and we'll start with John Austin today itself. Is the screen visible? Okay, I'll just show. All right, so let's come back to principle of utility. What is meant by utility? He says that it is object in any object. Utility, the property in any object, is whereby it tends to produce benefit, advantage, pleasure, good, or happiness. Thereafter, he says that what is community? What is community? Kiska bhala, kiski khushi? He says that community, when we talk about community, it is a fictitious body, and it is, so interest of community is equal to interest of sum total of sum or total or sum of individual interests. Individual interests. So interest of community equivalent to interest of individuals, sum total of interest of individuals. Sum of the interests of several members who compose it. Thereafter, last line, he says that when it tends to add to the sum total of his pleasures, or what comes to same thing, to diminish the sum total of his pains, an action then may be said to be conformable to the principle of utility, or for shortness sake to the utility. When it has tendency to augment the happiness of the community, its tendency to augment the happiness of the community is greater than any it has to diminish it. So this is the yardstick according to Jermy Bentham. Any action of the government, it has to conform with this principle. Any action of individual has to conform with this principle. This principle. Take, that's it. Criticism we will be doing, but you can you can always enlist. Let's say, for example, what is, unless and until we'll not be able to define community, then in that case, how can we determine the sum, what will be the extent of operation of sum total of it while calculating sum total of pleasures or sum total of interest. Okay. One. Secondly, happiness cannot be the only yardstick for or the validation of laws. It can't be the only pleasures can't be the only yardstick for declaring a uh, law to be valid, for that matter, good or bad. Yes, it can't be, because we have to balance the interest, isn't it? We'll be studying it in sociological jurisprudence. We have to balance the interest. So you can enlist Jermy Bentham's criticism of Jermy Bentham's theory. So let's just summarize Jermy Bentham's theory, and thereafter let's come to um, John Austin. One, we dealt with meaning. Law is an assemblage of so and so, of signs declarative of volition. You will be studying definition. इसको points लिख लो. Definition पढ़ोगे. दूसरा पढ़ोगे principle of utility. Principle of utility. Third, you will understand the difference between expository and sensorial jurisprudence. Thereafter, in principle of utility, meaning of utility, two sovereign masters, meaning of utility, yardstick, what is community, you will study all these. Thereafter, fourth point is idea of complete law. And fifth point will be your work. This you can introduce, you can write here also. I'm forgetting anything else? And thereafter, yes, sixth point will be aims of law. And idea of integrality or idea of complete law के साथ ही you will study codification. And thereafter you will prepare in your own terms criticism of this. You will do critical analysis. Tick, that's it. Thereafter, let's start with John Austin. Are you all here with me? हो क्या?
Yes, ma'am.
Raise your hand. How many of you are here? Command, sovereign, and sanction. Command, sovereign, and sanction. Okay. ठीक. Chalo, let's study. Another 15 minutes on this discussion. I'll wind up class at 11:55. Now, John Austin's observation on what the law is. He delivered 6 lectures, and these are those lectures. And actually, at that point of time, the England society was very stable. When he had defined law, their society at that point of time was comparatively very stable. And these were published in way back in 1832, and these were 6 lectures which were published in 1832. And after that, rest of them were published after his death. So his definition of law is that law is command of sovereign backed by sanction. Now, meaning of the term law, इसमें 4 चीजें पढ़ोगे. ये एक स्टेटमेंट में ही 4 चीजें हैं. First is what is meant by law. He says that in common parlance, law is a rule which is laid down by an intelligent being for another intelligent being having power over him. Law is a rule in common parlance, in literal parlance, he says. Again, this portion has been taken from original text of Jermy Bentham. Of John Austin. Jermy Bentham, I'll share today. He says that law, what is law? A normal law, a rule, a regulation which has been made by one intelligent being having for another intelligent being, for regulating the conduct of another intelligent being, having power over him. Thereafter, further he says that command. What is command? It is signification of desire. It is signification of will. I'll quote John Austin after a while. He says that it is signification of will. If you will not, I shall do this. A signification of my will. You shall do this. If you do not, then in that case, you have you'll be facing sanction. In command's definition, which I'll be quoting after a while, there is another dimension which is called as command on one hand and duty on the other. Command on one hand and duty on the other. He says that command and duty, they are correlatives. जब command होगी तब duty होगी. You are free to criticize afterwards, but अभी पहले first portion में we will study what he observed. Command होगी, सामने वाले पर duty होगी to follow it. Now whose command? Command of sovereign. He says that command, so it can be of sovereign, and it can be when a parent directs a child, or guardian directs a child to come back home by this is latter part I am adding, by 10 p.m. then that is also a command. But the source is not sovereign. But the source of that sovereign, but the source of that command is not sovereign. It is backed by sanction, but it is not backed by legal sanction. It is backed by moral sanction. बोलते ना, माँ बाप की बात नहीं मानोगे तो ऐसा बुरा होगा, ये मॉरल सैंक्शन है. बाकी लॉ कहीं नहीं कह रहा कि अगर आपने पेरेंट्स ने कहा 10 बजे तक घर आना है तो आना है. So this is what he says. Command is signification of desire. If you will not do it, then you will be backed by, you will have to face the evil consequences. Now, subject matter of jurisprudence, he says that it is positive law, and positive laws are laws which are set by political superior for political inferior, that emanate from sovereign, command of sovereign. Now, who is a sovereign? He says that he is a person or an aggregate of person to whom the bulk of society, let's just refer to his definition of sovereign, and I'll share the better handouts. I mean, it should be clear. It's not clear. He says that what is meant by sovereign? The bulk of given society are in habit of obedience or submission to a determinate and common superior. Determinate and common superior, and that common superior can be a certain individual person, or can be a certain body or aggregate of individual persons. And second point, he says that this is certain individual common determinate and common superior is not habitual of obeying anybody else. Sovereign में तीन बातें आएंगी बेटे. Sovereign में 3 points will come. One is first common determinate and common superior, to whom bulk of people, they are habitual of obeying this determinate and common superior. And in furtherance to that, he says that this ab ye common determinate common superior can be an individual, it can be group or aggregate of individual persons. Now in turn he says that ये जो sovereign है, ये sovereign जो है, this determinate and common superior is not habitual of, he is not bound to follow anybody. He is not bound to follow anybody. Why? Because he is illimitable, indivisible, and continuous. These are three attributes of sovereignty. Sovereign, illimitable. No restrictions can be imposed on sovereign's power. Though these attributes are not, they can't apply in the modern democratic society. In modern democratic countries, these three attributes cannot be made applicable because limits, restraints. We were talking about Shivam and I had discussion about self discipline. We had discussed about how people have utilized this pandemic, and they have they are doing multitasking. They're you know discipline, a kind of restraint, judicial self restraint. Thereafter, doctrine of basic structure. The powers or the power of the sovereign, it can't be what it can't be it has to be limited. The doctrine of checks and balances. There has to be a check, there has to be a balance. The three organs of the government should work within their respective zones. They should not exceed. Illimitable, indivisible, it can't be divided, centralized, he says, and continuous. Once given, it will be forwarded, it will be taken further, always. So second is sovereign. We'll come back to this again tomorrow. And thereafter, third is sanction. What is sanction? Is evil. He associates it with evil. Hmm? Evil or evil, as you may pronounce. Sanction, punishment. Take classification we'll do tomorrow. Fine. All the penal statutes and yes, Akshat, I'll just take the attendance and thereafter you all may leave. Akshat, bolo beta, you have raised your hand.